all control. Gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She comes in with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and you are now stuck with us. That's all I know. By us, I don't just mean me and my multiple personalities. I'm talking about me and Mr. Scratchy Lovins himself, Mr. Don Longbeard. Welcome to the show.
How did I get tagged with Scratchy Lovins? I don't understand. That was your story, not mine.
I just read the story, but it's just such an adorable nickname, Scratchy Lovins.
I'm so loved.
You are loved. There's no question. But welcome to the show. How you doing?
Doing good. It's been a long day. I'm kind of tired, so I might just jump off here and go take a nap.
Oh, that's been going around.
No, naps. That sounds like a good plan to me.
I've been hit the ground running all day. I've just been slammed, and doing interviews, doing a training session, doing a million other things, and then just dealing with a little 4-year-old tornado. And I thought it was about 5, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go lay down for half an hour. So I said to Mrs. Portal, Mrs. Portal, will you just wake me up in half an hour? Because I just need to recharge a little bit here. She's like, yeah. And I'm feeling pretty well rested, and I'm kind of waking up and go, wow, I feel pretty good. This has been nice. And I look at my clock, and it's like literally 20 minutes ago. So I'm like, you didn't wake me. She, oh, I forgot. So this has been my night, ladies and gentlemen. And in the meantime, I managed to set up the episode, connect with Don, go on to Bigfoot Odyssey for their big 100th episode edition of the Researchers Report, which was very cool. And I stopped in and said hello to them. And of course, they had Ron Moorhead on there as well, Don.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, so I said hello to Ron, and I said hello to Carrie and Daniela, and I just want to say a special congratulations to the 100th episode of the Researchers Report. It's been an amazing honor to be a part of it for us. Both Don and I have been on there many times. We've always enjoyed it. It's just phenomenal and fun, and Carrie and Daniela are amazing people, and we've been absolutely honored to be a part of that. And Carrie said, he would like us to mention as well that he's started a new channel, and that is The Shudder, ladies and gentlemen. And that's another channel that Carrie's done that deals with paranormal stories, and he reads them and covers them, and it's a fantastic show. And so if you get a chance, check out The Shudder as well. He does a really good job, and of course he's a longtime friend of ours, so It's our great pleasure to help spread awareness of that, because it's really tough. It's really tough to let people know and to get that recognition. So they've just been such a longtime friend of ours in helping our channel that it's the least we can do to reciprocate that. So did Don, you been okay?
Yeah. Carrie's in the chat room now. Just wanted to say thank you, Carrie, for the well wishes. All is good over here. Happy that you guys are 100 episodes is pretty awesome. I know that we when we hit our 100 subscribers, we had a big old party. Me and Brent
Yeah,
did. We had a beer.
yeah, we did. That's right. We tossed back some libations and got stupid, which we do every night, of course. But we got a little
But
extra stupid then.
it's funny though because our 100th episode was actually on TFR, so
Yeah.
2 night run there, and then by the time we hit 100 episodes on YouTube, we were still under like 500 500 subscriptions. So it's like wow.
Yeah, it's that a little different.
It was
I
like,
got I got
oh my.
I got a disco hell here, so just keep talking.
Oh, so, but yes, Carrie, congratulations. Daniela, if you're here, I don't see you yet, but if you're here, I'm sure Carrie will tell you. Congratulations on your 100 episodes. That's always a great milestone. And wow, and I was listening to Shutter the other day, and I'm like, wow, he put some time into that.
Mm-hmm.
And we did one podcast episode like that, but we just haven't had time
Yeah.
to do it again.
Yeah.
Holy God.
Well, that's a great time for our next announcement, which is that the Paranormal Podcast, the Paranormal Portal podcast will be continuing, of course, but we're moving back. We're not going to do 3 episodes a week anymore, ladies and gentlemen. It's just an overwhelming amount of work to put out 10 episodes per week of shows and to keep everything running, keep everything fresh, and keep it interesting. And so we are moving back on the podcast to 1 a week. And as soon as we're done with the hiatus, we'll be relaunching with 1 a week with a bonus episode here and there. But just so you know, it's just, I want us to continue to putting out the best shows that we can and giving you guys what we hope the shows you deserve with, the production value and the content. And I think putting out so many was a hell of an accomplishment, and I'm very proud of the fact that we did it for a year. But going forward, it will just be 1 episode per week on the podcast because, yeah, Don, that's exactly how I feel. I'm incredibly proud of the volume of shows that we've put out for a whole year. It's how we got to over 650 episodes on YouTube. I think we're closer to 700 episodes on YouTube now. But that and how many did we end up with the podcast in 1 year? 150 some.
It was like 156. Let me jump in here real quick.
Yeah, we had a ton of them. And that's a hell of a lot of content. And we were, that's kind of what we wanted to do, just to hit the ground running, to make our presence known. But, I just think moving forward, it's got to be quality as much as, and not that any of the previous podcasts were terrible. They were all wonderful, but I
Could have
think,
been better.
yeah, I think they could be better, and they will be better going forward. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's just one big announcement moving ahead. But it should also allow Don and I to, focus on the content a lot more rather than having a race to the finish every week. And it was a hell of a run, though. It was really impressive.
157 with Scott Part 2.
Yes. Yeah, 157 episodes. Wow. So it was a hell of a run. It is a hell of a run, and it'll continue. So keep watching for that, ladies and gentlemen. I just went through a training thing on that today for the podcast moving forward to a new backbone software that we're using on the network. So that'll be coming in the next week or so. The new episodes will be launching. So, Don.
Yes, sir.
You talked. No, this is something I've only heard in peripherally. Well, before we do that, I suppose I should tell you that we all need to hang on because we're going in. So, Don, let's get back to that.
Are we back?
We're back. We're back and back at it. And ladies and gentlemen, the phone lines are open if you want to call in and be a part of tonight's show. 720-923-0500 is the number to fun right here on the Paranormal Portal. Again, 720-923-0500. Or if you look on your screen above my head, right up there, you're going to see it. That is the call-in number. Below the words Paranormal Portal on your screen on the top left hand corner. But you had just mentioned something just before we got on the air, and this is something I've only caught peripherally. I've only caught a mention of it. I have not had time to look into it, but apparently some teenager was attacked and killed by some canine thing.
Yeah, so remember, oh, it's been about a year. There was an older gal, an older teacher. I think she was in her 70s,
Yes.
and I think it was like
Mm-hmm.
North Carolina area, and she was attacked by a canine type thing, and
Mm-hmm.
her dog. She was walking her dog early before school, before she went to to her classes and do to work, and she was attacked by some kind of a canine. They it was un what was it? It was an undesignated or an unknown
Yes.
canine.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I really brought that into question because, you can, just like your DNA, you can get a DNA kit from anywhere, 23andMe, and there's another one, Ancestor.com, things like that. You can get your DNA and they can go back centuries, millennia, and they can tell you, what, what part of the world your people came from. And, vets can do it too. They can take dogs and cats and say, okay, this is, this specific breed of a dog or this specific breed of a cat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I found it kind of funny that, they had all this DNA evidence from the unfortunate, murder, the unfortunate mauling of this lady,
Yeah.
and they had DNA evidence because it was like, they had saliva and stuff like that, and they could not identify it. Eventually, I think they went with wolf or something like that, but it was like a month-long thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, like I said, that was about a year ago. And then just recently, and we've been so darn busy doing everything else, back in February of this year, so 2 months ago, there was a boy in Kentucky that was killed by an unknown canine type animal. And I've only seen little tiny blurbs of it. Um, Let me see if I can get back to the one. But the over of the story is this. Um, Hinman, Kentucky. Troopers investigating the death of a teenager in Knott County say an apparent animal attack was the cause of the victim's death. Investigators were called to a home in Emelina community shortly after 6 p.m. Tuesday on a report that a child had been attacked. When they arrived, police said they found a 13-year-old boy with fatal wounds. The Knott County coroner pronounced the victim dead at the scene, saying the victim died from suspected injuries associated with an animal attack. An autopsy performed um, confirmed that was the cause of the death, but a specific animal has not been um, identified. So remember back when we were talking about the teacher in North Carolina, I believe it was. Um, they said it was an unidentified animal. Um, uh, where was I going with this? I don't know. The autopsy. But so they said the same thing. They
Yeah.
said the same thing. And we know that we supposedly have these creatures called dogmen,
Mm-hmm.
um, and dog soldiers. Apparently, there's two different classifications there. Um, and we know that these stories have been cropping up for like 20 years now,
Mm-hmm.
and even longer, I'm sure. But that's when we really started hearing about it. And then just in the last 5 or 10 years, it's been getting worse and worse. Of course, there's the A Beast of Bray Road with Linda
Godfrey.
Godfrey, and we've got those stories from her, and we've got other stories. We've got stories from the First Nations about dog soldiers and dog men, and we've talked to a few people on the show that claim that they've had encounters with dog men. One said something about having encounters with dog soldiers. Um, so with this new report of this 13-year-old boy um, being attacked and killed by an unspecified animal, I did read one that did say specifically canine animal. It just brings to the thought that, doggone it, we just really don't know what's out there. You know, let me see here. Okay. Officials are not. However, at this point, there is no way we can determine what the animal was. There are still questions as to what animal it may have been. This is the one that says a canine type animal.
Mm-hmm.
And that was so what I just read there came from an update. Nope, here it is. So update Wednesday 12:45 p.m. So this is that same week. So this would be like February 23rd, 24th, somewhere right in there. Troopers say people in the area should remain hyper vigilant, especially at night, but there is no immediate threat to the community. Something happened in this community in Emelina in Knott County. We just urge people to be cognizant of their surroundings and be careful about the things you have around your home. Be careful of any potential food source for wild animals. Secure your garbage cans, containers, whatever you have, or don't even put them out. Um, the miner's body was found several hundred feet up a hillside in a wooded area. Rain and dark conditions made it difficult for first responders to find him. One person I thought said several hundred feet, 300 to 400 up a hill. Is very steep. This is a statement.
Mm-hmm.
It was so it was a pretty good distance. That was a Kentucky State patrol officer making that statement. It's difficult. It's a difficult thing to go through. Of being a professional law enforcement or as a first responder, you've got to take care of business first. You kind of got to deal with it yourself too, to some degree. But obviously, the biggest focus has to be on the family at this time. So another quote from a statement from a police, I'd probably imagine a PR person. But so they're not. They say they can't figure out what it was. It was one report says it's some identified animal. Another one says a canine type animal. So it's be hyper vigilant, I guess. But it just goes to show that there's these creatures that we have no idea that are really out there. No one's got any. Apparently, there's very little. Let me say that there's very little evidence. There's no apparent DNA evidence because they don't have anything to compare it to, so they don't know what the heck it is, whether it be Sasquatch, Dogman, whatever that may be.
Right.
So it's just another pondery to throw in that, another feather to throw at the hat and see where it sticks. So
Yeah,
there you go.
there's weirdness out there for sure. The I find that it's harder and harder to know what the hell we're dealing with when it comes to these kind of things. I just it's absolutely mind-boggling to think. There's already substantial proof for the Bigfoot. There's footprints, there's hair samples, there's anecdotal reports, there's so much out there, but the culmination of all of it to me alone just makes it there's no way all these people are wrong. There's no way they're all making mistakes. But then you throw in and with the Dogman it's a little more sparse, but again, there's a lot of anecdotal evidence. There's a lot of sightings by various people in several walks of life. So it's not just Joe the drunk that happened to see it when he was waking up from his blackout. There's such a credible amount of witnesses and people of social stature that it puts themselves in quite a jeopardy to come out there and make those fantastic claims, and yet those claims are out there. It's hard to understand how much of this stuff is out there because then you pile on other things like, are there rakes slash ghouls? Are there, these diminutive beings out there like pukwudgies and, and gnomes and duendes and et cetera, et cetera. And so you end up with this entire catalog of things out in these wild places and in some pretty surprisingly urban places
Yes.
that these things are wandering around, and it's like, maybe just stay home. don't go outside anymore.
Right,
it's
right.
it's really
You know,
sketchy.
and it really makes me wonder, with all of us being locked in our homes and not really being able to go too far. I mean, I can wander out behind my house and wander into the woods, to a certain extent. You've been through there. You
Yes.
know what it's like.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can get out and wander around. I could wander around for a good couple hours, just, around my pond and around the hill and over
Hmm.
the train tracks and, in the back 20 and all that. So I can get out and I can get fresh air and move around and do something kind of fun, get out there and look around. But a lot of people, like in metropolitan areas, they can't do that. And so my point is this, we've talked about wildlife returning to these areas. We've
Yeah.
mentioned, Venice, the canals in Venice have dolphins again.
Uh-huh.
There's mountain goats, herds of mountain goats, in either Switzerland or somewhere like that. I can't remember. But, we've got all this wildlife coming back out. And people have wondered on social media for, the last month, are we going to see an uptick in um, uh,
Cryptids.
a, uptick in cryptids? Yes, that's what you said. I didn't quite hear you,
Oh.
but it just clicked. Yeah, in cryptids.
Yeah.
Are and plus we just last month was talking to someone, or we brought up the idea that in Detroit, I think, somewhere, I think it was in Michigan, Upper Michigan, um, that there were Bigfoot in urban areas digging through garbage cans, squatting in buildings,
Right.
abandoned buildings. So, is that true? Is the dog man coming out a little more because we're not around as much? Um, all food for thought for you.
Yeah. Food for thought. What? Guess what? Guess what's on the food chain, Don? Yeah.
Meat's on the dinner again, boys. Menu again.
Yeah, on the menu again. Yeah. Well, I found this thing from Week in Weird, which is Greg and Dana Newkirk. They do this publication online, and it's kind of their paranormal newspaper, for lack of a better term. And it's a great site. And for a long time they didn't update it, but they're back at it and pretty hard with their whole Hellier series. They've kind of reinvigorated this whole thing, and they had an article from 2016 on here that witnesses report hairy dogman creatures attack campers after strange lights fill New York forest.
Wow.
And providing that my eyes are awake enough to actually read this font, I'm going to do my best here. But it says a new report makes its way to us. Okay, from southern New York, where a man writes to tell us that he and his fellow campers were attacked by a group of large, hairy, dog-like creatures. And if that
Wow.
wasn't strange enough, he says that his terrifying brush with the beasts comes after a possible encounter with a UFO. So there's that weird. Is it
Wow.
one equal the other? Are they related? Are they not related? Who knows? But as usual, I've edited the post for grammar. But in this case, I've also redacted the exact location until
Right.
Dana and I have had a chance to investigate the area ourselves. Stay tuned. In the meantime, here's the full report. It says, I saw you on Finding Bigfoot, and I know you have been investigating weird things. So I thought about you when something weird happened to me last week. Me and two friends decided to go camping in southern New York up on some mountain. It's been redacted, which mountain. And there was a dirt road that runs right down the mountain. And then off of it are a lot of smaller satellite or smaller off-road tracks that have some good camping spots. I don't know if you're really supposed to be camping there or not, but there's a lots of fire pits, so people do it anyway. And he continues, anyway, we set up our tents and get a fire going, have a couple of beers, and we're just complaining about our women and the it's funny to complain about our women. And the sun goes down and we looked at each other because the woods got real quiet. You couldn't even hear crickets. Everything just went dead quiet. And I felt like there was a lightning storm coming because you could feel the static in the air and all the hair on the back of my neck stood up. And Jamie started saying that he felt like the air was humming. And then all of a sudden there was a real deep bass noise and this bright light in the distance that flashed up and lit up the whole woods.
Wow.
It looked like the light where the real big firework explodes for the first few seconds. It lasted for probably a minute before it split up into 3 or 4 other lights and then shot back down into the trees. We could see all the lights glowing out in the woods, and then there was a big gust of wind, and it was gone. Everything smelled like it had just rained, but it never did rain. We don't know what to do, but figured we would just wait it out, but nothing happened. We thought maybe it could have been a meteor or something, so we left it alone and went back to complaining about our women. It's like their big pastime. What do you want to do? Oh, let's talk about women. And about 2 a.m, we decided to turn in. So Jamie and I went to go to sleep in our tent, but Dan said he was going to sleep in the by the fire. Okay. An hour later, I wake up because Dan is in the tent shaking us, saying that there's something big watching the camp. And he said it was about 50 feet from the fire, and he thought that it might be a bear, but that it was standing on 2 legs, bobbing back and forth like it was trying to get a better look at him. Oh, that's horrible. It says, while he was talking, we heard a loud scream. I've never heard anything like it, and as long as I've been alive. It sounded like a pig being slaughtered, but deeper, and so loud it made your ears ring. And the next thing I remember was hearing 3 or 4 more things coming running towards the campsite, and the embers from the fire kicking up and landing on the tent. The things or creatures, whatever they were, kept running up to the tent and grunting and running back into the woods. And every once in a while, one of them would scream again and pull on one of the tent poles, dragging the whole tent a foot or 2. The tent was collapsing on one side, and we didn't know what else to do, so we just started screaming as loud as we could. Only took us a minute, and then everything was quiet again. So we made a run for the truck as fast as we could and hit the gas. We were leaving. When we were leaving, we saw one of these creatures. It's not the word they chose, but that's the one I'm using. In the headlights, standing in the road, and I told Jamie to gun it, and the thing straightened up and puffed up its chest, and it must have been 8 feet tall. Had dark gray hair all over its body except the front. And the hair was white or yellow around the chest. The face looked kind of like a dog, but not really. I know what Bigfoot looks like, and this was way different. It didn't even move as we drove at it, and we had to swerve around it, or we would have run right over it. We drove back down the mountain to the highway and parked the truck at a gas company parking lot. And we were going to go tell the cops what happened, but we didn't know if we were camping somewhere we shouldn't be. I don't want to get a ticket. Never mind. But we had been drinking at night and can't afford a DUI, so we just waited for the sun to come up and sobered up. When we drove back up to get our stuff, there wasn't anything there. Everything was gone. No tent, no cooler, nothing. We told some of our friends what happened, and they won't believe us since we'd been drinking, so we just decided to forget about it. If you want to come and check it out, I'll take you right to the place it happened. There's still...
MCAT! Thank you!
What's that?
Wow, MCAT just gave us $100.
Woo, MCAT! Lots of love, brother. Sorry, I got my screens full of links and stuff here, so... But he says it was no bear. So then, of course, there's the summation by the Newkirks, but very interesting. Very interesting.
Wow.
Huh. I don't know.
started dragging away the tent.
Yeah, it was like they'd take turns running up to the tents, whooping and kicking coals at it, and then grabbing the tent pole and dragging it a couple feet. So they were
Wow.
these three guys were actually dragged in the tent. So that's quite a feat of strength.
Yeah.
With tent poles with and the anchors notwithstanding the fact that there's three grown men in a tent getting dragged around. That's a hell of a feat.
And getting all drunked up talking about these women.
Yeah, maybe dogmen really love women. Maybe that's they were defending their honor. You don't talk about women's like that.
You
I
better
don't
bet
know.
that they are women's. Wow.
That's kind of creepy though.
Yeah.
So here's the $1 million question: did they ride down in the UFO, or
Oh,
was the
yeah.
UFO was the UFO what drew them in? Just all these weird lights, or what is the connection there? That's the part that people get stuck on. That's the part I get stuck on because which is it? Is it just two random events that happen in the same place time, or are they directly related, or um, just relative to each other? One happened, so the other happened.
Right.
Um,
We have a chatter named Malcolm that says, I'm in the part of New York where that report is from.
oh, okay. Well, it'd be interesting to hear if there's any local hubbub about it, but or if anybody happens to know who those gentlemen were and if they're credible. But I imagine if they made the report, here's the thing: it's like it's one thing to spin a yarn, but it's another thing to go on record about it. And I assume that the Newkirks on their Week in Weird have probably information regarding who it was that
Right.
made the report. But Malcolm, is it kind of common local knowledge about this, or if you could comment about that in the chat, we'd appreciate it. But that's a cool experience.
Yeah, that's definitely, and having somebody that might be more local be able to, talk on it some more would be great. By the way, our phone number is 720-923-0500. That's 500. There you go. So, um, wow, that's cool though.
So
Yeah,
what do you
well,
think? What do you think, Don? Are they riding around in UFOs sometimes and then landing, or is that just one brought out the other kind of thing?
who let the dogs out?
To the
Um,
front
that's
home.
interesting because there have been reports of um, Bigfoot sightings along with UFO sightings as well. And so it really begs the question, are these pets of aliens? Are we, um, is
Right.
are they like, or are they like the foot soldiers or like shock troops, or do
Right.
they just let them go and say, haha, watch this? So it's a good question. We had the one story about the lady who woke up. She was abducted. She woke up in what she believed was the ship, a sterile white room, and laying next to her on a gurney was a Sasquatch.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep. Yep.
so
That was a
you know,
yeah. That was a listener submission. Somebody had,
yeah.
had had that what they thought maybe was a dream, and I think was not just a dream. Not by the depth of that report and what she had to say. I think that she very well may have been abducted, and that was some kind of repressed memory coming back.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
So, yeah, crazy. It's
well,
crazy.
yeah, and Duke brought that up too. He said UFOs are abducting Bigfoots as well as people. So, and that to me makes sense because why wouldn't they? If they're
Right.
really trying to learn about this place and learn about what's going on here, and I assume that's what this whole abduction thing is about. Or if
Mhm.
they're doing genetic research about here or whatever, why not pick those guys up? Because those are they're surviving in a very rough, wild way and doing very well at it. So there's probably a lot to glean from them more so even than us. And why wouldn't they pick them up? They're wandering around down here as well. Apparently, we have a genetic similarity to them anyway, as the DNA studies that have been done on the Bigfoots suggest human female mother at the origin of this, and then some unknown father. And what is the unknown father? Hell, I don't know. But it's a mind-boggling for sure.
Yep.
Again, I kind of defer to the Lloyd Pye explanation. I think he's really onto something. I really do. I think that's, if you've never, and again, I'm going to drop it again, ladies and gentlemen. I mention it every once in a while here on the show, but if you want to see an amazing explanation for what the possible origins of Bigfoot and us are, check out Lloyd Pye, Pye. Everything You Know Is Wrong. Find it on YouTube. It's still out there. It's an excellent talk. Lloyd was a brilliant man, and I think his conclusions are just from an emotional place. I think he's right on it. I don't claim to be intellectual enough to have the kind of knowledge that he's dealing in, but just his logic seems pretty sound to me,
Right.
for whatever that's worth. But it's a hell of a talk. He brings up some really incredible things, and just listen to it and let me know what you think. But again,
Right.
Lloyd Pye, Lloyd, and then Pye. Everything You Know Is Wrong, and it'll be worth your time. I promise you that. If you haven't seen it, it'll be worth your time because it's incredible food for thought,
Mm-hmm.
incredible ideas that are shared on there, and I think they're worth exploring. And it might give us an answer to what that And the funny thing is, though, is with the DNA study. Now, Don, I don't know. This is kind of interesting because, of course, when Lloyd Pye did this, he's of course passed away now. But when he did this, there wasn't a DNA study to kind of ground or to start from. But does the conclusions of the DNA study that we have, and they're wildly debated and contested and stuff, but they do suggest a human female mother as an origin, but not a father. There's an unknown for whatever the father is. So
Right.
does that negate the possibility of what Lloyd Pye was saying as far as the origin of our species?
I would say no, because that whole thing, everything we know is wrong, everything you know is wrong, that'll lead you to another rabbit hole called the Star Child skull. And part of what the Star Child skull is it was a skull that was found, I believe, down in Peru, in some caves, and they did some DNA testing on it, and they could only determine the mitochondrial, which is the mother's side, basically,
Mm-hmm.
of the DNA, and it was an unknown father, an unknown species. And the last I heard, they were doing shotgun DNA tests on it, which means as every now and then, as DNA gets better, they can read it better, they can understand it better. They do another quick DNA test on it to see if any new markers have popped up. And as far as I've ever heard, I haven't heard any definitive answer as to the paid the father's side.
Mm-hmm.
So so with that in mind, talking about cryptids in this way, um, who knows? I don't think it discredits, or I don't think it um, negates any thought of being similar in DNA, maybe being from a similar genetic family line. No, I think it doesn't. I think we should still keep going on that idea that we are somehow connected. Um, Duke said something. Well, homogenous Homo sapiens or Homo, or I forgot what he said, but uh, basically he's just saying that we all have everything that we talk about here has similar DNA, has DNA that's um, related in some straight up fashion.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, if it's not cataloged, if it's not recorded and cataloged, it's not real. So
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's a good point. Malcolm Truffle or Taffy, I think it's
yeah,
Taffy. Malcolm Taffy says, I believe it was Overlook Mountain, and it was a bunch of party-aged kids that were very sure of their experience. Dogmen is prevalent in the New York State region as well as Sasquatch.
mhm.
Yeah, that's very cool, Malcolm. Thank you so much for giving us some more information on that. I find that incredibly interesting, and I also find it mind-boggling how many reports are out there that they're hanging out together, Bigfoot and Dogman.
Right.
It's like they're buddies or something. Well, you hear both sides of that. You hear the side that Bigfoot and Dogman seem to be territorial and establish their territories, and they basically stay out of each other's way, is what I've heard most commonly. But every once in a while, one of those reports will come in where it's like, I saw a group of Bigfoot with a couple Dogmen with them, and boy, those really cook your bacon, though. What the hell's going on there?
Well, they say dog is man's best friend. Can dog man be Sasquatch's best friend?
Maybe that's the origin of dogs right there, the dog man. No, I'm just being stupid. No, I don't know. It is curious though. I don't have much to offer in that regard, but I do find it interesting that people. So here's kind of what I think about that though, and it kind of comes in the same vein as people seeing Sasquatch during or just following UFO encounters. And so here's the thing: we know that Bigfoot is incredibly interested in new things, and they are known to come and look at us, look in our windows, watch us watching TV, just see what the hell we're up to. They seem to be fascinated by whatever it is we're doing, as long as they can observe it from whatever safety of the shadows or the forest or whatever. But they do seem to be lured out of whatever they're doing whenever people are present, because they just, I guess they probably have to know, and coming from a survival state of mind, that you don't just let people come through your area unless you know what they're up to. And these are beings that have survived for millennia in the wilds, and they've done it by being extraordinarily careful. But so if campers come in and it lures the Bigfoot out, and they keep checking and see what these people are up to, I can't imagine that it would be any different if there was UFO sightings in an area. Let's say people see these anomalous lights, like was just reported in the story, and all this fascinating lights and sounds and things going on. And I imagine if the Bigfoot are, the Dogmen probably are too, if they're out there. It's like, well, what the hell is this? And so they probably become extraordinarily active and on edge because something really strange and new is happening, and they don't know what the hell to do with it either. So would they not also be lured out by something like the big bright lights and the bassy sound and this, exploding lights going all these different directions? And wouldn't that cause them to be on high alert and go and investigate everything? And maybe that's when they ran upon these campers. But I don't think that one is necessarily symptomatic of the other in the fact that I don't think Bigfoot are riding around in UFOs as a matter of protocol or course. I mean, I just think I tend to believe it's more incidental, that they just saw the lights too, and they came out of wherever they are to check it out because it was something strange and unusual. And lo and behold, there was people looking for those same things or looking at those same things, and they kind of encounter each other. But I think most people assume that, well, I saw the UFO first, and then all of a sudden there's a Bigfoot, so obviously the Bigfoot got out of the UFO. I don't know that there's many reports of people seeing Bigfoot come out of UFOs or being dropped off or anything. They just happen to be same place, same time kind of stuff, And I believe that one lures the other out. That's my personal feeling on it. I don't know. I tend to agree with what Duke said, and I reference that story often, Don, too. That's this woman that we had received an email from talked about having this incredibly vivid dream that was absolutely terrifying. She says that she was basically dragged out of her room, and next thing she knew, she was in this circular area that was shadowy and hardly lit, but it looked like a kind of like a dimly lit laboratory, but it was circular shaped, and there was other like you said, gurneys. I don't know what else to call them, but she was on one table and she looked across and saw a Bigfoot on the other table, and she said they locked eyes, that their gazes met each other, and she said as she looked into this Bigfoot eyes that was on the table near her, she said she saw wisdom and intelligence and this knowledge, like it was an intelligent set of eyes. It wasn't just something sitting there panting, going, "What's going on?" That there was an understanding, and so she had that recognition when she looked at it. And I think that that's right. I think that if these things are abducting people, they're apparently they're abducting livestock to some degree or parts of them. Then why wouldn't they also abduct Bigfoot to check them out? Whatever the hell they're doing, I don't know, but they're apparently they apparently abduct things, at will.
Right.
you
Right.
know. So
Let's see. Let me get back up here. The Scottish Wildman in chat says there's been a few cases where Bigfoot has been seen with big Black Panther type creatures. Could they be dogmen?
yeah, I mean it could be. We know that dogmen will run around quadrupedally, and so I don't know if it looks similar to a panther when it's down on all fours or not. I don't know, but it stands to reason to me. But we have a call, so
Oh,
do you want to get to this call?
yeah, absolutely.
All right, and this is area code 845. You are on the air.
Howdy ho, Brent and Don. How are you guys tonight? It's Carlton from the Pharmacy
Mr. Carlton, how you doing, sir? Welcome to the show. What's on your mind tonight, brother?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thank you. Thank you for the welcome. So interesting. I was wondering where this was in southern New York, and it turns out Overlook Mountain. I don't know if it's come up in conversation yet, but I do a radio net, which our repeater is actually on top of Overlook Mountain. And I have an amateur radio friend who lives on Overlook Mountain, and I will have to share this show with him. I'm curious what his thoughts are, if he's ever seen or heard anything odd up there. But that seems very close to home. I've done some research on the Dogman stuff, and I've heard a lot of stories about him. And as much as the details are consistent and that sort of stuff across all different stories and all different places, there's so many consistent things. It's still hard to fathom this thing, having not seen it.
Mm-hmm.
That said, I don't ever want to see one. But I just thought that was interesting how close to home it came, And I've also, when I was doing the Bigfoot research, I found one case of a lady who was supposedly feeding them in Tivoli, New York, and I'm actually from Tivoli, so that's right nearby. So just a couple of thoughts on that.
Now, was that case where she was actually allegedly communicating with them as well?
Yes, that was my understanding. And I think I found that on what's the lookup site, like Bigfoot Research Organization or something, where you can look up incidents by time and location and date.
BFRO.
Yes, that. I found it on there, and then I went and looked at where she described it, and it's literally about 3 miles or 4 miles from me.
Oh, well, how about you? Have you ever noticed anything odd in your neck of the woods? Because they tend to have a pretty huge range.
Yeah, that was my thought. I've never had any kind of dogman experience. Thank God. I hope I never do. I did have an experience that I thought might be a Bigfoot, and I'll tell you, I didn't get a really good look at it, but I did see eye shine, and they were huge amber eyes, and they looked way bigger than anything I ever saw. And I've never had a feeling of like the hair raise on the back of my neck and that scared without really good reason before. And that night I did, and I happened to be out in my truck in the back field when I came across this. It was like late fall, and I came back up in the truck, grabbed my rifle, and I was thinking about going back down, and then I thought, you know what? Maybe I ought just not to go back there, and I didn't. But I did actually stop, and I wish I didn't have my camera with me when I was down there, or I would have at least got a video shot of it. But when I came back, I actually recorded the experience that I had, just so I could remember it freshly later on. And I actually just recently went back and listened to it.
Wow.
And, yeah, so that's the closest I've had. I didn't see it well enough to confirm it's a Bigfoot, but I've never seen anything else that acted like that. It was really strange. So
that is really strange, and
that's all I've had that way.
Now, do you have like fields of crops, or how do you operate? I don't really know a lot about your operation there, but it sounds to me as if you've got a farm. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on a farm. I don't own the land, but I basically kind of have free reign to farm it and build it up as an operational farm.
Oh, okay.
And so it's 112 acres, so it's a huge piece of property. A big chunk of it is wooded. I wouldn't say old growth forest as like the standard, but very old forest for this area.
Hmm.
This area back in the early, late 1800s and early 1900s was pretty much cleared and turned into farm fields, and then it's grown back since.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but a lot of animal traffic here. We have several creeks that run through the area, and they all tie into this swamp-like valley that comes right by me. And we actually have eels down in the Hudson River, and I've actually seen eels on land here on this farm that must have come up those waterways. So
Oh.
there's definitely, a lot of traffic nature-wise, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if they were running through here too, and I just was lucky enough not to encounter them.
Yeah, and it's surprising. I think there's, and I'll keep repeating this until I'm proven wrong, but I think that's, sometimes some people are just magnets for this kind of stuff, and some people may have some experiences during their life, and then other people are just like the anti-experience people. No, that's not you, Don. You're in the middle. Just so you know, as much as you want to, negate that or try to claim that's not the case, you are. But I bet you're in the middle too, Carlton, where you just you're probably tuned into it enough that you'll be aware of it when it happens. But some people just seem to have a real unlucky trait where they draw everything to them and have all kinds of problems. And I don't know what life would be like that, but I would not want to be in that situation.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. You know, I, like you say, I think I'm in the middle of the spectrum. I
Yeah.
suspect, and I like you, I like to think about it, but I never want to make a statement that's solid because we don't have anything to really,
Yeah.
scientifically proven. But I tend to agree with you. I think most people are probably in that middle spectrum, and then
Yeah.
there are people on the fringes more that are in the never see
Yeah.
spectrum, and then on the other end of it. And then I also wonder, I wonder how much of this comes down to people's observational abilities.
Probably a
I'm a
lot.
very observational person. I'm looking around me all the time when I'm in the woods. I'm inspecting things. I'm looking at things and trying to pay close attention to detail.
Hmm.
And I meet people who they walk by things, something could smack them in the face and they wouldn't notice it. So I wonder if that's a factor as well.
Well, I when I was on Blue Line Bigfoot, their mountain stream episode recently, Adam brought up an interesting point. He's like, it seems like the artistic people have the most experiences, and he asked me, he said, why do you think that is? And it just occurred to me that the artists are always looking at the details. They're always looking at everything around them and breaking it down, and the painters reevaluate or redistributing what he sees onto the page. The musician is breaking it down into sounds, and so the artistic people are always hyper aware of their surroundings, and they can translate that into a whole nother medium. And I think that bears very much into what you're saying about observation. So I think you're right on it.
Yeah.
I think you're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, most people don't realize it, but farming is very much an art as
Hmm.
much as it is a technical thing. And, yeah, I think artistic people, or people of that creative mindset tend to assimilate things that not everyone assimilates to. Like you'll see the similarities between things much easier than some people will.
Right. Yep. Very true. Very cool, man. And you're going to be on the show on Saturday night with Don and I.
He is?
He is Don.
Indeed, I am.
We're
I'm
gonna
very much looking forward to it.
we're going to be talking about nutrition and as as it relates to the health of the body in terms of spirituality. But it's going to be a great discussion. And Carlton's coming with his bags loaded full of fun and interesting facts.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
That-
For sure, for sure. And yeah, I just came across another podcast that I'll share on the show Saturday night. That really it was the perfect thing for me to see just before this great collaboration we're doing, or guest appearance, or whatever it is. So I'll bring that up in the show too, and it ties right back into spirituality you guys carry it on. But thank you, as always.
Oh, thank you, brother. It's a great pleasure, and thanks. And I'll look forward to seeing you on Saturday night right here on the portal.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it. And shout out to everyone in chat. And thanks, MCAT, for the donation.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
thank you, MCAT. That's awesome. All right, brother. Good night.
All right. Good night.
Yeah, we have our friend Cindy that lives just like not 50 miles from us,
Yes.
and she talks about, well, I think I've got dogmen over here, and I have to agree with Carlton. I'm like, that's one I don't want to experience for any reason. It's great hearing about them.
Mhm.
It's interesting. It's scary.
Yes.
But I don't want them anywhere near me, man. I don't know if my Odd 6 will take care of the problem.
Well, and that's the other part of it is that so many people have claimed to have emptied guns into them with no
Yeah.
effect, not even a hobble, not even a stagger. They'll like empty bullets and rounds into these things and apparently having no effect. And that to me is just like, how is that even possible? But I don't pretend to know, but I'm with you because the one thing and even in the Bigfoot community, you'll hear these really kind of cool stories where somebody it happens to meet some Bigfoot in certain situations and they have this real benign, peaceful encounter. But you never hear that for dogmen.
Right.
It's always like death looking at you, wanting to eat your head. It's never
Yeah.
peaceful and calm and loving. It's always like, that's where the screaming starts. They just don't have the benign, loving, tender moments that even the Bigfoot phenomena has. That people have these really cool, just benign, wonderful experiences every once in a while. Not often, but they happen. But I have never heard of one of those in the Dogman's situation. But I don't profess to be a huge expert on it, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot of information out there about dogmen, but it's pretty much coalesced into certain places. Like I
Right.
think Vic Condiff has done a great job cataloging this and documenting the dogman phenomena. I think that there are other individuals and groups that have done a really good job of compiling and gathering information that is out there. Linda Godfrey, of course, being one of them, and several others. But it's not like there's as much information about dogmen out there, and I don't know if that's because it's a rarer phenomena, than even the Bigfoot. Is it just a much rarer experience to have than even encountering a Bigfoot, or what? I don't know, but it's just hard to find information on the Dogman if you're not plugged into that network of people already. And we're not really, I guess, when I think about it. Like we have several people involved with the show that are very tied into the Bigfoot's community. They either are on the researching end of it, or they're dealing with people having experiences all the time. And we get plenty of people submitting stories, to the show about their own experiences. But with Dogman, I can't say that I remember more than just a handful. And then that's just in mention. I can't remember the details of them, but the times that we've had somebody reach out saying, "Hey, I think I saw a Dogman." And even then, you got to wonder, how many of them are just, not just in a dismissive, condescending way, but how many of them could just be mistaken identity, that they are
Right.
actually seeing a Bigfoot, but they're just so in such a terror filled place that their recall makes it this horrible, menacing monster rather than not that Bigfoot can't be. They sure can be. They'll pound you into pudding quicker than you can trip on a log, but which is all terrifying as well. But
I find it interesting that a lot of these dogman stories that we've heard, though, the people were able to always get away from them, as opposed to a Bigfoot story. We've heard the Albert Ostman story of being captured, and we've
yes,
heard of there was I think it was Carlton that was talking about in the chat about the 3-year-old boy who was disappeared for 3 days into the woods and
yeah,
said that a bear saved him.
yeah,
So you've got the good and bad Sasquatch stories,
yeah,
uh, but you really only hear about these menacing, visceral, scary, encounters, but they always seem to get away because I would imagine it's because, well, if you don't get away, you don't live to tell about it. Which brings us, which brings us around to that 13-year-old boy in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Uh, was that a dog man?
Yeah, I don't know. And to me it's, I guess it sure could be, but I don't know. My gut is telling me that it's, could it be something, just a really sick animal?
Hmm.
For instance, I've seen video of a rabid fox,
Hmm.
and what was going on is it's in this kind of residential area, and I can't tell you exactly where it's from or anything. It's just tattooed in my brain that
Hmm.
there's this rabid fox running around, and it's acting all squirrely and weird, and there's this man walking along, and there's somebody videoing from a house. They apparently caught the fox running around acting strange, and they're like videoing from their window, and the man walks down the street like he's just walking along the street with mailboxes down the row, and all of a sudden you see this fox shoot out from on the top of the frame from a residence over across the street, run down to the guy, grab onto his leg, start doing the shaky head thing, and tearing after him and coming at from every different direction, and then suddenly shooting off and then coming back again, and the guy's meanwhile just like trying to beat it off and get the hell out of there. But it's just this weird, I don't know, just this weird, broken kind of experience where this fox is just insane with the
Hmm.
rabies. It's just totally, it's messed up its whole head. It doesn't know what the hell it's doing. It just knows it has to lash out at everything, and I'm just wondering if this could be a coyote, or some form of wolf that's rabid and just happened to come out and just grab somebody and tear him up and drag him off into the thick and then then just discard it. Because the kid wasn't eaten as far as I can tell. He was just mauled, right?
Right. Yeah, that's what I understand. Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, I don't know. My gut just tells me it's some kind of rabid animal that might have gotten a hold of him and just did that insane, you know, attack mode that like I witnessed with this fox,
Hmm.
because it wasn't eaten. The guy wasn't eaten. I would imagine that I believe dogmen obviously could kill without any problem whatsoever, but I would think that they would probably have a pretty good reason for doing it, and then you'd end up like as the subject of a David Politis video. Then because you just disappear. Because I assume that they're intelligent. Every report of the dogman, suggests that they are, near human intelligence or seem to be operating on a high intelligence. Well, you've got to be dumber than a brick to leave this mauled body laying around if you don't want people running around your area, you know.
Right.
So to me,
Right.
it seems like some kind of perverse, situation that really doesn't have any rhyme or reason and doesn't serve any purpose. So if these dogmen are intelligent, and they seem to be, because they do appear to people, scare the hell out of them, and get them to get out of that territory. They seem to always have a purpose for whatever their confrontations are. It's not just to blindly maul people, because if they were that murderous and dangerous, there wouldn't be a
Hmm.
safe campground in the whole nation or possibly world if they're that widespread, because they could shred people in a heartbeat.
Right.
You
Right.
know.
Yeah. So it's just hard to believe that. Oh, here's where I was going. But see, now you said, well, you were wondering if it was a rabid wolf or a rabid coyote.
Sure.
They would know. They would be able to get the DNA from that, and they would be able to tell, oh, it was a rabid wolf. So why, if that's the fact, why didn't they just come out and say it? And that's kind of the same thing with the school teacher in North Carolina.
Hmm.
Is like, well, if you can prove you've got the DNA, you're testing it, you're saying we don't know what kind of animal it was,
Hmm.
then so it can't be a wolf, it can't be
Well,
uh coyote, that kind of thing. What's up?
here's something that occurs to me is that, of course, to test DNA, you need a pretty pristine sample. And if all you're looking at is somebody's mangled carcass, you might find trace elements of the DNA, but they might be mixed with human DNA, and it might be really hard well, I'm just assuming, it might be really hard to isolate one sample from the other. Meaning, how do
Mhm.
you isolate, some saliva from blood? or that kind of thing. Is that possible? Do we have the technology to really dial that in? Maybe we do, maybe we don't. I just don't know. But that's just what occurs to me, is maybe it's just really tough to get a real pristine sample.
I think the answer would be yes, they can.
Okay.
And because here's why I say that, because they can tell, like a murder victim, if the murder victim's got blood on them, they can tell if there was an unidentified male attacker, or how many, because they can tell the different genders just by the DNA.
Sure.
So yeah,
Well-
I think they can, and I think they avoid a lot of things. They try to avoid a lot of things, but when they just come up and they say, "Well, we don't know what it is," that's hard to believe.
Sure.
So they can. I think they can. I think they can separate, animal from human DNA,
Sure.
regardless of the sample. But there is contamination, sure, but that would be human contamination, not animal.
Well, but the thing that occurs to me again, and I don't know either way, but this is something that occurs to me, is that primarily when they're looking at murder scenes and looking at victims of violent crimes and stuff, they probably there's only certain places that they really farm that DNA evidence. As one is under the fingernails. So if there was no scratching, going on and gathering of skin samples from under a fingernail where somebody tried to fight off somebody else, I don't know. It's just an idea, but you're right. I mean, they probably can, and it is incredibly discomforting to know that there is something out there that is killing people, and it's just killing them, and it's not like, hey, it was starving, it's just trying to feed its family or something. It's just killing them and mauling them and then leaving them. And that's really disturbing. That's horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I absolutely agree. Because it's like, people say, well, if you kill an animal, trophy hunting is the perfect example. Trophy hunting. People have, they get up in arms about trophy hunting, but the truth of the matter is that it generally doesn't go to waste.
Right.
It goes to a local village. The meat, the skin, the bones, because they can do things with all of these parts of the animal. Now, that doesn't mean going out and only killing for killing's sake is okay, but it doesn't go to waste.
Right.
And so I think that's basically what you're saying, is an animal that attacks and kills, that doesn't eat its prey, is a rogue animal, and it needs to be put down. It's like a man killer lion.
Yeah, the ghost of the darkness. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly that kind of thing. And there is a precedence to put animals like that down.
Sure.
But that's for the good of the community as well. So it's not just, but you're absolutely right. Ghost in the Darkness is a perfect example of that. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we're going to take a quick break. I got to use the loo and get another drink. And I hope that you use the time as well as you know how. But we'll be back in just a couple minutes. Don't go away for more of the Paranormal Portal. Dun, dun, dun. Cue the music. Test 1, 2. Wow. You hearing that? Are you hearing that?
I heard something as I was putting my. I heard something. You know, I wonder if it's my. Gosh darn it! I wonder if it's my connection just getting some bleed from lost packets.
Oh, that could be. Yeah, that
Yeah.
could be. It sounded like like this horrible roaring sound. It was like, what the hell?
You know, yeah, but it's been doing that too, though. So
Yeah, I mean, it could very well be, and that would make sense. But welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here with essentially the last 45 minutes of our show tonight. God, we made a lot of tracks in that first hour and 15 minutes, huh?
well, you know, when we bring up Dogman, people get engaged, and that's just the way it is. And you know, and that's a topic obviously we can talk on. You know,
Yeah.
it's a scary topic, in my opinion, but you know, it's one that gets traction. So, yeah.
There's a new name in the chat, Squatch Knocker. How you doing, Squatch Knocker? Good to see you. Thank you. That person next heard that noise too. Kathy heard it as well. That rocket noise, whatever the hell that was. But thank you. And he says scratchy lovin's.
It's not my fault.
I just think that name just kills me. Oh my God. Welcome. We are going through a journey tonight. We've ended up on the Dogman, which is fine. I love this topic. It's a tough topic to get into real granularly because there just isn't a lot out there that I'm able to find about it without stepping on somebody else's toes. Like I could go to Vic Cundiff's sites and pull up information all day long, but I don't think Vic Cundiff's going to appreciate that too much. So it's just hard to find information that somebody doesn't already have claim to. However, what I did find, Don, was an article from Ranker.com. And it has to do, it says, 12 darkly fascinating stories of the Michigan Dogman.
Oh, let's go.
Oh, thank you very much. How was that? Good? Don?
Yeah, it was great. Yes,
Did your beard start growing?
yeah, it stood straight up. It was like, whoa!
All right, let's get into this. It's by a lady named Lyra Radford wrote this article on Ranker.com. And she says, what makes the urban legend of the Michigan Dogman so compelling is its plausibility. There have been far more sightings than Bigfoot. What? There have been far more sightings than Bigfoot, who is practically the poster creature for cryptozoology. While there's talk of supernatural origin, there's also more scientific animal-based theories for this creature's existence as well. Dogman sightings began in Michigan and then spread, with the descriptors varying slightly. But the core characteristics remained intact. This can be expected with any growing, migrating, and evolving species. Dogman sightings usually occur deep in the forest around logging camps. I don't know that I've ever made that correlation, and out on isolated roads late at night. The mythical beast of backwoods folklore went mainstream in 1987 after the release of the song "The Legend," written by Traverse City radio DJ Steve Cook. Cook pulled lyrics from Dogman encounters, and soon more people reported their sightings. But what are these witnesses actually seeing? Is it mass hysteria or a real creature? Let's explore the history of this cryptid and the various horrifying encounters people have had with it. Let's do that. I'm even as we're talking about it, Don, my head still goes back to when Linda Godfrey was on the show. And we got to get her back because she's got a new book out. I Know What I Saw, and I definitely want to get her back on. I got to reach out. I reached out once, and we exchanged, just pleasantries and stuff, but we didn't dial anything in. But she told a story, and I don't think this is a Dogman per se. This to me sounds more Skinwalker-ish, but there was the people at the church. Remember that, Don? They went to church, and there was this old lady sitting there, and all of a sudden she started changing into a wolf in front of the whole congregation. Right. And suddenly they got all the people out, and they closed the doors and dealt with her, I guess. I don't know, but it was an incredible story. Now, I really, really respect Linda Godfrey because I think she comes at it, she's very thorough. First of all, I think that she's takes a lot of pride and has a lot of integrity. I really like her as a person. She's a pleasure to interview. I just love talking to her because she's so kind and nice, and she's, even though she's been so involved and is so well known and regarded, she's still just the nicest person, and I really respect that. But she brought up that story, and it's still, every time I think about dogmen and stuff, that story comes to my mind. What would it be like to be sitting in church and suddenly this old lady starts transforming into a big white wolf? I mean, what would you do with that, Don?
Code brown.
Oh, yeah, scraping underwear. Yeah, it's horrible. I mean, horribly. But it's absolutely fascinating at the same time because how many folklores have been built around the whole idea of transforming humans, and here you had a church of people that were aware of it and dealt with it. I don't know. It's gotta change your paradigm in a big hurry. But anyway, I'm kind of spiderwebbed off onto that one. And this first one they're talking about, the Michigan Dogman has extraordinary leaping abilities. It says, in the fall of 1986, out near Manistee, Michigan, or Manistee, Manistee, Michigan, Ray Greenway was driving home from the Manistee Army recruiting station. It was late at night, and he noticed something in the darkened field beside him. His headlights were reflecting off of what appeared to be eyes, but they were much too high off the ground to be a deer. Suddenly, the unidentifiable creature began running towards him and made an incredible leap clear across the 2-lane road. There is no animal that it could be. I know that this was not a deer, Ray later recalled. He went on to describe its yellow eyes and impossible leaping ability. I do remember that I saw both eyes as if it was looking at me the whole time, and that along with the leaping ability is what I will never forget. So that's pretty intense. Right across a 2-lane road. I don't know. What is that, about 30 feet, do you suppose?
Oh gosh, no, it's more than that.
Is it?
Yeah, well, no, okay, maybe. What kind of was it a lonely back road like my road? Then maybe 30 feet would be right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Could a deer leap across 30 feet? Sure. I think it could. You ever see those videos of them jumping? I mean, deer can just catch air. They are just incredible jumpers. But apparently this guy saw enough to know that it wasn't a deer, and I'm not trying to negate what he's saying, but that is it's a pretty incredible claim, but I don't know that it's not possible for another creature to do it. But again, maybe the road was much wider than what we believe. The next one is the earliest known dogman sighting was, guess when, Don?
1984.
1887, as a matter of fact.
I was only 103 years off.
That was some good math, though. I'm pretty impressed. You pulled up 103 out of that. I would have been using fingers and stuff to get to that. But well done, Don. It says 1887, the first known dogman encounter was documented in Wexford County, Michigan. 2 lumberjacks were out in the woods when they spotted a creature they described as having the body of a man, but the head of a dog. Huh. Other sightings began to trickle in throughout the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and locals found dog tracks in the dirt around several deceased horses. The horses allegedly perished of fright. So they actually gave up the ghost just because it was there. What? That's
scared to death.
Scared to death, Don. I don't know if that seems like it might be a little bit of a tall tale, but I do. But so again, we've covered this. We haven't covered Dogman for an awful long time, but I like to bring up the cynocephaly, the ancient warriors that were regarded in ancient Europe of these man-bodied but dog-headed warriors that were incredibly fierce, ferocious, and were believed to be undefeatable in battle. but they looked like people except for the fact that they had these dog heads. Now, what you got to wonder, have you ever seen that movie 13th Warrior, Don?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually love that movie.
I like it too. I liked it very well. I thought it was very well done. It never, did as well as I thought it could have. But anyway, the antagonist of the movie was this tribe of what looked to be like bear people, and you got to wonder in the cases of the cynocephaly, and we'll get back to that in just a minute. But in this movie, there's this tribe of bear like people that they would fight and fight with them, and they know they would kill some, but they never did have any bodies. Their bodies were gone. Well, it turned out, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the movie, but it turned out that this was kind of a feral tribe of people that decorated themselves to look like bears. And whether that's and they did live ferally, like really they lived in this big ornate cave system, and had their one mother that was I didn't write it, I didn't do it, but anyway, there was like a queen bee kind of mother, and this tribe of feral men that donned these bear skins and heads and would go into battle, and they would carry off their dead. And it was really well done, really great movie and all, but excuse me. But so you think about the cynocephaly, and of course back then that was a very superstitious time. There was a rampant superstitions, I think, in that developing medieval world. And so if somebody decorated themselves pretty closely to look like a dog, most people would say, I saw a dog-like person. However, there was, in the Catholic Church, of course, St. Christopher is the dog-headed saint. And he was allegedly one of these warriors that converted to Catholicism and became a saint. And he is depicted in the traditional artworks of him as being a dog-headed saint. And so you'd think if he was just a man, they probably would have dialed that in at some point. But I don't know. It's hard to understand what could have been at play there. But to me, it does lend credibility a little bit more that maybe there was these dog-headed people running around. And could they have been the forebearers of what became known as dogmen worldwide? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe there was other tribes of them around the world. Maybe they weren't just from the old world. Maybe they were already here in the new world. Who knows? But and of course, as we've progressed in our branching out into the natural world and claiming it as our own, did we just finally run into them, and that's why they're in our culture now? I don't know. But interesting nonetheless. So this one is interesting and disturbing at the same thing. Dogman screams like an infant in the night. That's horrible. So if you ever hear a baby crying out in the woods, it's probably not a baby, and you should just stay home. Just don't go looking for the baby, because you might be horribly disappointed at what you find. One witness claims a creature best described as a werewolf or dogman was stalking up the hill behind their house in the late fall of 2001. My stepdaughter and I were looking out the French doors to see a creature, black in color, like a big bear, with haunches and the head of a wolf. And while that was the first and only visual of the Cass County, Michigan, and only visual the Cass County, Michigan residents experience, they can still hear it splashing around in the 20-acre swamp at night, and sometimes they can even hear it shrieking. According to them, it has the scream of an infant, loud and hysterical. Ugh, that's horrible. That's horrible. Yeah. You know what else is horrible, Don? I don't know why. This is the second night now that I've seen this ad, and it's disturbing the hell out of me. And I'm going to put it up on screen because it is incredibly disturbing. But check out that ear farming going on there. It'll probably take a second to get your screens. But these are the crap that somehow, for some reason, has decided to show itself on my screen, and it just makes me want to puke in my mouth every time. Are you seeing it yet, Don?
Not yet, and I don't want to, but I'm sure it'll pop up here in a second.
Why in the hell am I getting targeted with this ad? For the record, I regularly use Q-tips, and my ears are incredibly clean. Are you seeing it? You seeing it,
yeah.
man?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, God.
I avoid those things.
I do too. I didn't ask for it, but it was here in front of me, and I'm just gagging as I'm reading that last segment because there's a big there. I mean, it's pulling out. Looks like that
Oh, la 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 la.
looks like that damn earworm from Star Trek. You know, the one that crawls into that dude's ear.
Fun.
Yeah, Wrath of Khan. Back in the day. Oh God. Oof. All right. So that's
You've tortured us enough.
we've got a call from Australia, Don. We better get to this because God
I know who
knows.
it is.
God knows it's got to be a hell of a phone bill. Hello, Australia. You're on the air.
G'day, Brent.
Hi. What's going on? Who are we talking to?
Vic Tiger here.
That's Aussie.
Hey, Aussie. How you doing, brother?
Not too bad. I just, with that story said the first known encounter of the Dogman, if you think about it, the first encounter was actually in Egypt thousands of years ago.
Egypt? Yes. Yeah.
And they, because they thought of that being as a god.
Right. Anubis. Anubis was the dog-headed god. Yep. The god of the dead. Yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
point.
so that was, if you think about it, that's the first registered encounter of a Dogman.
Yep. I agree.
It's in history and all.
Now, what you got to wonder, though, Aussie, is what about the falcon-headed god like Osiris and Bastet, the cat god, and what is it, Bast? That was the cat-headed god. So they've got a whole category of different creatures with human bodies, but we don't see things like Osiris running around or claimed, unless that counts as like a Mothman. But are there I know that a lot of people grab onto the Anubis thing and say, well, there's a dog-headed depiction in ancient Egypt, but there's also a falcon-headed depiction in Egypt and a cat-headed, I think a lion-headed or a hippopotamus-headed. And a crocodile-headed one too, but none of those are being spotted as cryptids. What do you think of that?
Maybe they're smarter than the Dogmen. Then. They're smarter than the Dogmen because they're keeping away from.
You might be right about that, brother. You might be right. But how you doing, brother? Everything good down under?
Yeah, things are all right. Still under lockdown, which is annoying, but what can you do?
Well, we're a big community, a global community of isolated people, but we've come together on the portal at least, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. I think at some point Ken would like to Scott with you about an experience or something.
I'm sorry, what was that? At some point, what?
Ken the Rotman, I think he keeps saying that he wants to Scott with you or something about an experience he's had.
Are you hearing that, Don?
Yeah, he's saying Ken's on the Ken's on. He's standing next to Ken, and Ken wants to say something.
Oh, all right. Put on Ken. That'd be great to hear from him.
Yeah, he's in the chat.
Oh, he's in the chat.
He's in the
I'm
chat.
nowhere near Ken.
Oh, okay. All right.
And they keep saying that he wants to Scott with you.
Wants to scrap with me? Is that what
Skype.
Oh, Skype with me. Oh, okay.
All right.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I suppose we could Skype into Ken for sure. We can holler at our brother from down under.
Your other brother.
The other brother from down under. Yeah, absolutely. But man, Aussie, it's great to hear from you, brother. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, and it's good to see you guys are healthy and fine. So.
Yeah, we are, brother. Thank you so much. And we hope you're doing well as well, and keep your head on straight and stay healthy, okay?
I stay as healthy as a smoker can be.
All right, brother. Thanks for calling. We'll talk to you soon. That's cool. Good to hear from Aussie. That's nice. That's a hell of a phone call.
Yeah, it certainly is.
All right.
He brings up, a good point, about your cat.
Yeah, Anubis, yeah. My dog-headed cat.
But yeah, I mean, were these like aliens that came down like in Stargate?
Yeah.
You remember that show? The movie and then the show
sure.
is Stargate?
Yeah.
And they came down and it was actually, there were helmets basically.
Yes.
That they were wearing, and And, could that have been where that, mythology comes from? Who knows?
Potentially, sure. I mean, that makes sense to me. I gotta see if I can find Ken. See if we can get him on. Ken. Whoops, that says Den, not Ken.
Typing, a good thing to do.
Yeah, home row is your friend. I have to remember that from typing class. Let's see. Here we go. Looks like we got Ken. I'll try to add him and see what happens here.
All right.
Okay. So it is dialing. See if Ken answers us. Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun. No, it's ringing, but I'm not seeing Mr. Ken pick it up. Oh,
Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you. How you doing, brother?
Good. I'll just
You're just
That's not it.
hello?
Can you hear me, Brett?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yep.
Yeah, I had YouTube on, so I muted it. Yeah.
Oh. Just keep talking into the microphone.
Cool. Oh, that's a cheap mic, but it still seems to work.
Yeah.
Medium. Yeah, thanks, Ollie, for telling Brent I was messaging him on Skype, but I guess you don't get that much Skype.
No,
The plan I'm on, I can't do overseas calls for some reason, so
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So what's on your mind tonight, brother?
Well, yeah, I'm staying down in this, well, I think I told you anyway, down in this coastal town.
Yes.
And my goddaughter shifted down here. She owns the house, but because of Corona, she works from home.
Mm-hmm.
And because her and her boyfriend's here, I'm living in a caravan again.
Oh.
But, yeah, it's all cool.
Sure.
But anyway, she's cleaning out a wardrobe, and she found these footprints in the wardrobe on the top shelf, and the footprints are tiny. They look like baby prints, but weird toes, and they travel from the ceiling down.
Ooh.
And like, even if a child was in that cupboard, it could not do positions of these weird little footprints, and it seems to be, yeah, it's totally weird, And when she first saw it, put tingles up her spine, and they really.
Did you get pictures of them?
I'm just about to do. Well, I'm going to do that after the show. I'm going to go in and.
Yeah. Make sure she doesn't clean them until you get a picture of that, because that's
what her boyfriend was going to do. Oh, I want them off, and she goes, no, leave them because
yeah.
It's a weird thing. I want to see what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very interesting. It came right down the wall.
It's in the cupboard on the top sort of part of the cupboard, like where you put blankets and sheets and things, and it's like it just appears at the top, and like some of the footprints sort of go slightly around the corner, the corner.
Yeah.
So it's like, and it just looks totally weird,
Right.
Looks like it's a stain too, not so much an actual mud print or something, Yeah. So I'll see if I can get a photo. I've got an Apple phone now. I'll see if I can't work out the flash though, but
yeah, that'd be really cool. And try to get some scale object in there that we can tell how big they are, if you would too. Like put something in the frame that's a good scale reference.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
I've got a ruler.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, that'll work great. But
yeah,
I'll
email it to you. Yeah.
Yeah, please do. I'd love to see those. That's really bizarre. I don't even have a suggestion what that could be. That's really strange.
They look out of this world, Yeah.
Well, it's where we live is out of this world, but that is just really odd. Wow.
And yesterday we had a bit of an adventure that Tioni's dog got out, and it's like a gigantic pit bull. A bit like the one in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, if you understand. But, he's on reprieve. He went to court for attacking another dog, bit its tail off and everything, and he was in the ground for 4 months, and he finally got a reprieve for him, but if he attacks any other dog again, he's put down, and she gets massive fine.
Oh dear.
And he got out yesterday for 3.5 hours. We're looking for him, and he had his muzzle on, but she was worried he'd take it off. And fortunately, he went in the bush, and I was looking for him, and all these kangaroos were following me everywhere. They got to know me now, and all these hog deer are running around, and I was saying, well, he can't be here. But he ended up turning up out of the bushes with a dead blue-tongued lizard, throwing it up in the air like he's so proud he just slaughtered this poor little lizard. And that was like lucky, I was calling it all
Wow.
help I could, and lucky he stayed in the bush and not the
Yeah.
what do you call it, suburban side of town.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Well,
It's
that's
a very dog-friendly town, but yeah, that was...
now the last time we talked, Ken, you thought you had seen thylacine up there, right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah, and so did someone else. And I'll tell you, it's a perfect area for one.
No.
And all the animals there work together, like the kangaroos want the deer to get away if a person's coming close, they thump their feet, I've seen it in action.
Yeah. Wow.
I've got it, yeah. No, I'm still keeping a sharp eye out for the thylacines.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. We
I thought I saw him yesterday, and as I got close, it was just deer,
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, just make sure you got a camera with you at all times, brother, because if you catch one, man, that'd be huge.
Yeah, well, I went in the national parks a lot lately, and up in the mountains, and the one down here at the beach, and perfect spot for a yowie. So I've been yowie hunting a bit,
Oh,
Yeah.
very cool. Yeah.
Anyway, I'll report back.
Yeah, please do, and please send us.
And great talking to you, and
Yeah, and send us those pictures. I'd love to see those pictures for sure, brother.
Yeah. Pictures tell 1,000 stories. Yeah.
All right. Well, take care, Ken. It's great to hear from you, brother, and thanks for being a part of us. We'll talk to you soon. All right.
Time and stuff. Yep. Okay. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. We'll see ya.
Just about.
Awesome. That was Ken, our very, very good buddy from Down Under. He was the first Aussie, the first person from Oz to pay attention to the portal. He's been with us since the very beginning. Like, literally the first shows when I was just doing audio only. Even before you, Don. Ken was in the chat on TFR forever. So that's really cool that he's still a part of what we're doing, and it's a great honor to hear from him. He's old school. He and Lewis, and I guess just those two pretty much are all that's left from the original crowd, huh? Drone still pops in. But,
yeah.
But yeah, it's it's kind of neat that we've got this long legacy of listeners, and it's growing. That's always cool.
I am just dying to see those pictures of the footprints from the cupboard. That would be, what? Let's speculate a little. What do you think it might be?
I'm just wondering about little people. I don't know what versions they have in Oz, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. If it looks like a little footprint, like a human footprint, I don't know what natural fauna they have there that would, it would be kind of like approximating a raccoon print, which looks very similar and many times to, our prints, at least hand prints. But I don't know. We got another call, though. This is Ramon is calling in. So let's get to this and see what Ramon's got going on. How you doing, Ramon? Welcome to the show.
Damn, that was too quick.
Oh, I don't waste any time when it comes to callers. No, I just happened to be looking at the call board when you called in, so I got you right off the bat.
Hello, man. How you guys doing?
We're doing good, brother. How you doing?
What's Aether's name? I always forget. Aether, what's his name? Or Ether, or whatever. What's his name?
That's Don. Don Longbeard.
Yeah.
Yep, Don. Yeah. So,
What?
yep, that's Don. He's still with us.
Okay. Don. Okay. I'm just calling to touch in with you guys. I think I've looked into the Dogman thing. I've looked into a lot of things. But what I'm starting to realize these days is that, I mean, shoot, I'm not going to say the other word, shoot, I can't prove it.
Okay.
You know? And so if we all end up getting to our 60s, 70s, and 80s, I mean, there's no proof, you know. It almost makes me wonder, why are we even talking about it? Obviously, I just posted some stuff. We're talking about it because we care about our loved ones, mostly. That's the reason why all of us care.
Yeah.
I don't care about my own soul. I care about the people that I love.
Mm-hmm.
And the cats, even though they're cats or dogs or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
I care about them more. Yeah, right. I care about them more than myself.
Uh-huh.
But I'm like, you know, at this point, I'm almost worried. You know, I'm not even just worried. I'm almost for sure we're never going to get answers.
You know, that's a great point, because
that bothers me. Go ahead.
Well,
yeah, it does. It bothers me, and that's why we're having this conversation. And it's just so hard. You know what I'm saying? To go through life and think about death. You know, because you go further and further and further, and next thing you know, you're going to be dead. Beyond or besides all the people who are going to die around you.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, you know, I mean, it's like that's the infinite mystery, right? But you can't do the journey and worry about the ending. You got to do the journey and worry about where you're at. And I think that life is a progression, right? I think that we get there eventually, and hopefully we're ready for that next transition. You got a feedback from your speaker there, I think.
Right. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just think it's.
Yeah.
I appreciate what you're saying, but
Go ahead.
I think that, you know, that's the one journey we're all going to take, you know, is to make that transition, and it probably doesn't help to be too worried about it, because everybody we know, including ourselves, is going to go through that doorway. And when we get there, you know, we'll make that journey. But I don't know if we're meant to have all the answers, you know, Ramon. I don't think that that's what this is about. I think it's about the journey. It's about the exploring and the discovery, and that's the excitement of life. It really is, to me.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes you ever think about reincarnation, Brett?
Oh, for sure. I personally, I'm a big believer in it, but you know, I don't pretend that everyone else should be. It's, you know, up to each individual to come to their own conclusions. But I think that this is all about becoming better versions of ourselves, and I don't think we can do that in one time through. I think it takes many times through, and hopefully we get it sorted sooner or later. Right.
You know, during this whole coronavirus thing, can you hear me?
Yep, absolutely.
Can you hear me now?
Absolutely.
I'm just messing with you.
Sure.
Yeah, it you know, with this whole coronavirus thing, it makes me wonder, like, how do we know what is true? I mean, look what. To go on to a different subject, I don't think I'm going to get the answers for death.
No.
And you know, we're not going to. But I'll backtrack or digress a little bit and say that reincarnation is an interesting thing, because it's like, what if? Okay, I've wondered this for a while. What if, when the beginning happened, okay, the beginning, if there is a beginning, right?
Sure.
Or if there is an end, right? What if all those angels, what was wrong with them is that they never died? What if Satan himself is actually, or was actually, a good guy, but he's so And trust me, I will never advocate for anything that anybody does that's bad, including him. But what if that's what made him so angry? What if that's what made bad angels so angry because they've been alive for so long and they remember and they're angry about it? And that's kind of what I see right now with what's going on with the coronavirus. Forget the coronavirus, but with politics. And I always bring this up, but it is the age we live in. But most of the people I see on the left, and I love them because they have such good intentions, but they're angry because they've been hurt. They're angry because they've been hurt.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And then that creates a I don't know, like a vendetta. You know what I'm saying? Like to where they're so mad and they can't forget.
Sure. I mean,
we've talked about this actually before, but
I think we're all on the journey. You know,
go ahead.
We're all on the journey, and these are pretty huge questions that you're bringing to the table, and I don't know if anybody can have these answers, but it's hard to understand why people are angry, but then again, it's not hard to understand because I think what's going on, Ramon, is that what is going on is that we are actually kind of becoming aware of the puppet strings more so than ever in our worlds, and we've outgrown the old stuff now. It's like we're at this point of maybe personal evolution, if you will, and some of the old systems that used to work and made sense don't anymore. And so now we're just looking for what's next. And maybe that's why people are so angry and supercharged right now, is that they don't know what's wrong, but they know that whatever is been going on is not good enough anymore. And they need something bigger, better, whatever. I don't know. I mean, it's tough to answer, and we could spend 5, 6, 7, 8 hours on a show trying to sort that out.
Yeah, totally.
Those are some huge questions.
Totally.
Some huge questions, but no, I appreciate you calling in. I appreciate you putting these on the table. But all I can tell you, brother, is if the big picture ever gets too big, just focus on the little picture right in front of you, and deal with that, and then move on to the next one.
Okay. I feel you're ready to go. But I want to ask you one more thing. How do you guys feel about what's going on right now? Like, I know that's not your forte, but I've dipped in and just watched. But are you guys scared about what's going on with the, I guess, authoritarianism or totalitarianism that's going on with coronavirus? Because the way these people are reacting, who are, I don't care, but they're mostly Democrats who are telling us not to do this, not to do that, and the next thing you know, like we are now, we have 30 million people out of jobs, and they can't even feed their cats or kids or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, like, are you guys worried? Like, I'm really worried. I know this isn't Alex Jones, but no, seriously though.
I know.
No, Brett, I'm telling you, like, I'm really worried.
I hear you.
This is bad.
This
is really bad, but go ahead.
Well, again, it's a huge thing to put on the plate, but I would just say, yeah, of course. I think we're all concerned. We're all worried, because we're looking at potentially a fundamental shift in our way of life, and I think we're at a critical mass kind of point where some pretty decisive things need to happen in order for people to resume the lives that they know. And will they be able to? I don't know. Again, it's really hard to know what is the big picture because there's so many versions of it out there right now. But I will just say, I think people need to get back to life. I don't think that we can exist in our little micro bubbles of isolation, and we obviously can't have a flourishing lifestyle or country this way. So we need to get back to some semblance of normality. But I think everybody's concerned, of course, but Again, I don't pretend to have enough information to make a real educated assumption of this. I pay attention as much as I'm able, but again, with all of the ideas and propaganda and spins out there, it's hard to know what time it is right now. I just know that I miss the world that
Have you guys?
I miss the world we used to live in.
Have you guys?
Yeah, that was it. I was done.
Oh, okay. Have you guys seen the Bakersfield doctors who got erased off YouTube?
It doesn't sound familiar to me. I'm not familiar with it, I guess. Not sure what you're talking about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But listen,
No,
brother.
look it up.
Okay. We're about wrapping up the show here pretty quick, so we're gonna we're gonna have to let you
For
go.
sure.
But thank you so much for your call in, brother. It's great to hear from you. We love you, and keep your head on straight. All right.
Definitely.
Okay. See you now. All right. So that about ties up our journey tonight. Don, what do you think, brother?
It's been a good journey, and there's been a lot of questions postulated about everything we've talked about. From all the way from the kid in Kentucky, what was it, the teacher, the points brought up, the pictures I'm going to wait for from Ken. I want to see those,
Yeah.
and the good information from Aussie about Anubis, reminding us about Anubis and things like that. It's been a great show, even down to the question of how we're feeling, with the potential of what's going on. And we've said it before. There's a big shift coming. We've been saying it for like 2.5 years now, but we felt it back then. Is what that point is, and I don't think anybody's really comfortable. And as you said, our paradigm is shifting, and we're going to have to figure out where we go from here. It is scary in that sense, not knowing not being able to use what was for what's coming.
Yeah.
But with all that said, though, I think it's been a great show. We've had great calls. We've had great interaction in the chat room. It's been a great all-around show.
Amen, brother. And it's great to have you back. I'm glad you're here tonight. You'll be returning again on Saturday.
That is correct. I will be here apparently with our friend Mr. Carlton.
Mr. Carlton will be joining us. Pharmacy Seeds Network will be joining us on Saturday. And then mark your calendars, ladies and gentlemen, because on the 8th, our very own Deborah Varner will be joining us for psychic readings. And then on the 16th, we're welcoming back Mr. Dean Harrison to the show. And we're going to get into more of his amazing adventures. So definitely tune in for all of those and more announcements to come as they develop, ladies and gentlemen. But, Don, anything in closing other than what you just said?
No, pretty much that was it. I'm glad everybody was able to join us, and hello to those future viewers that will catch this later. Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, that's it for us. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Paranormal Portal. As always, it's our distinct and great pleasure to bring you this form of entertainment, and hopefully you found it entertaining. If you didn't, then we sincerely apologize, and we'll try to do better. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. We love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. And I'll be back tomorrow night with some night terrors for you. So join me 7 days a week, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on YouTube. There is another portal coming live to you. So join us, and I'll be watching for you. I'll be here and turning on the lights. So I'll see you guys then. All right. Good night, everybody. Good night. Good night.